Okay, well, good evening, everyone. So this is another recording our Zoom our Zoom group discussion about the next material, listening. Is it
Yes, listening in applied linguistics.
okay? So well, if you please, I'll be the first speaker to this material again. So we'll talk about the definition, the models of listening, the what we call it, the types, and also the process in listening. What actually listening is? So listening is the wait a second. Listening is the study about making sense of a spoken language that is accompanied by another sound and supported by our knowledge. So while we listen to someone speak or to uh, or from another language that has spoken, actually it's supported by our knowledge to understand what the speaker said. And also there are some like models of listening that communication wait I'm sorry, communication theory that makes our telecommunication efficient that concern more in intelligibility instead of perception. It means that the most important in this communication theory models is our fluently in this language instead of our um, own perception of the language, and also information processing. It is information processing that um, human in these models tells that just as a limited processor. So we as like a machine that process some spoken language, but we have a limit in processing something. And also there's a social or contextual model. So the opposite of the information processing. So in the community or in the environment, uh, we are the participants also, not only the processor. There are also situated action models. So in order to do things, we understand something. So because we want to do something, we understand some languages, like something like that, in my understanding. And also there are two types of listening: the one-way listening and two-way listening. So in one-way listening, we just being the listeners. So we listen such it's kind I'm sorry, it's like we listen to music, listen to radio, or watching TV. We're not have any um what we call it, the discussion, or maybe we're not a respond to the music or the radio we listen to, right? So it's called one-way listening. Meanwhile, the two-way listening, also the opposite one from the one-way listening, it we it also called like the listening speaking way. Like we listen to someone speak and we also respond to what they speak, what they talk about. So we also, being the speaker, we being communicative, and we talk something also. That's why there's a two-way listening, because we not just listen to what people say, but also speak and respond to what our partners say. There are also processes of listening. There are bottom-up processing and top-down processing. From my understanding, bottom-up processing is that we process one by one uh, from what sound or spoken language we listen for. Like maybe we listen to music, so we want to know the lyrics. We listed or we write the words from the lyrics, from what we know, from what the words we know until the new words one. But in top-down processing, we learn the whole part first, and then tear it apart. So actually, listening is the active activity that we have to being communicate in this activity. So maybe that's all I can say it about, because again I can't even remember some of the parts from my understanding. So well, that's all I can say and I can explain about listening. Maybe I can hand over it to the second speaker. Thank you.
May I to be may I to be second speaker? Okay.
Sure.
In my view, recognition of the speaker's sounds, detection of focus indicating intonation patterns, and evaluation of the significance of the information being communicated by the speakers are all components of the listening process. Subjects of today and beyond, in the past, listening was thought of as a passive process in which the information is received by our ears and our only responsibility is to passively record what is said. Actually, hearing calls for a nuanced interpretation, although this has long been understood in reading, acceptance in a listening setting was slow to come. Its adoption directly affects our concept of truth because it necessitates acknowledging the inherent differences in listener perception of what they heard, as well as the significance of non-linguistic factors and context in this interpretation. Terminologies such transmission, signal reception, and noise are found in communication theory, and there are four the distinctive qualities of listening. The first, it is typically transient and used only once. Reciprocity, which is not present in written language and includes stress, intonation, rhythm, loudness, etc. Three, fast speech differs greatly from written language in that it has inherent qualities like assumption, constant need to analyze and react right away. The fundamental idea of information processing is input processing and output. Since humans are limited processors, we must focus more on some aspect of complex activities while reducing attention to others. In the identifications, survival, and use and perception. Parsing and utilization are two popular models for information processing. Information processing models originate from research on the evolution of language and society. Evolutionary psychologists argue that humans spend most of their time trying to understand in order to do something, rather than filling information in memory as assumed by the information processing approach. The social or contextual model means that humans are considered more relatively limited processors, and understanding is seen as a cognitive process that unites the social and the individual. Social or contextual model, humans are seen as participants and creators of meaning, and meaning is achieved in the space of interaction between human and not just in its human head. Human process information both top down and bottom up as they listen. A proficient listener employs both techniques to comprehend a proficient spoken language in an individual's capacity to synthesize data obtained from both methodologies. The goal of bottom-up processing is methodically and one by one piecemeal the information that is heard in linear fashion. In top-down processing, meaning interpretation takes precedence over sound, word, or and sentence recognition as it moves from the whole to the component. The speaker's goals must be inferred by the listener, who must then verify or revise their assumptions as needed. It is claimed that top-down processing involves the listener as an active model builder. In top-down processing, the understanding of what is heard is aided by concentrating on prior knowledge. Okay, it's all from me. What's next, speaker?
Can I be the next speaker?
Sure.
Okay, so this is my understanding of listening in applied linguistics. So listening is we always use it in our entire life. And in my opinion, linguistic is giving attention to a sound. When we listening about something, a person hears what others are saying and tries to make meaning. What is that meaning of they're trying to speak? For example, is conversation or a person talk to other people. Also, listening is we have to combine the visual and sound or voice or noise or something to receive information and try to make meaning of that information. For example, when we want to talk about something to other people, we have to listen to their voice first. And if around us, there are so many noise, we can at least we can read their lips, so at least we can understand a little bit about what they're gonna say. But it's not but it's kind of a little bit make a miscommunication or misunderstanding about it. So we have to hear properly about their voice to not make misunderstanding and miscommunication. And there are some issues in listening. There are 3 issues in listening, but I just remember 2 of them. First is model. No, wait. Uh, Sorry, that's wrong. I mean, in models of listening, there are 3 of them, but I just remember 2 of them. So the first one is communication theory. Uh, Communication theory is when we listen to something, our brain or our mind has give us a term like transmission or signal or noise, and that means we can hear. So it's just like when we hear something, we know about what is that voice, and it's just like a signal of it. And the next one is information processing. After our brain gives a signal, it have to process the sound or voice or noise to make meaning of it. So our brain gonna process the voice and try to make the meaning of it, and they can also and then we can also understand what is meaning of the sound. So for example, when people say how are you doing, so we hear it first, so brain give us a signal, and then brain process about it, and after that we can answer about it because we understand the meaning. And there is one more, but I forgot what is that. So let's just skip it. And the next one, there's two-way listening. First is one-way listening, and the second one is two-way listening. In my opinion, on in one-way listening is limited because it occurs in a straight line from sender to receiver and serve to inform or command. And they just listen and make meaning and done. That's it. For example, it's like radio, television. They cannot ask about something. They cannot respond about anything because it's just one-way listening. And the last one is two-way listening. Um, two-way listening is always include feedback and not limited. So
Sorry,
if uh,
may I go to toilet for a few minutes?
oh yeah, sure. Okay.
Parcel.
Okay, I continue. So if someone tries to speak, so the other people try to listen, and after they done speaking, the other people have can respond about it and can give some feedback about it. So it's like if they want to ask about something, they can just ask, uh, and that people can respond and answer about the question or something, the sender. So I think that's all of my understanding of listening. So thank you. Who's the next speaker?
So
Isa, you can.
Silvia go to toilet. I want to be the next speaker.
Yeah, sure.
So the material about listening, and I would like to tell about my understanding in based on what I read about listening is the process of comprehending spoken words, like you guys said before. Maybe the highlight often you say before. So the process of comprehending spoken words, including sounds and visual, and using past knowledge and context, instead of considering listening as a solitary. And mm, however, it is more realistic to think of it as a collection of interconnected processes, such as understanding the speaker's sounds, recognizing intonation patterns that indicate the information being focused on, and determining the relevance of what is being said to the subject at hand, and so forth. So about um, I will, I think about the history. In the past, listening was thought of as a passive passive process, in which the listeners' only responsibility was to passively register the message, and our ears uh, were seen as receivers into which information was what we call poured was poured. These days, mm, we understand that listening is an active process, and that attentive listeners engage in the same level of activity when listening as when speaking. Uh, so uh, another interpretive approach is active listening. It used to be believed that listening involved precisely decoding the message. Actually, hearing calls for a nuance interpretation. Uh, then it is important to note that listening is not merely an auditory version of reading, just as speech is not simply a spoken version of writing among the unique features of listening. So I want to tell about the unique features of listening, and if I'm not wrong, it is usually ephemeral, one-shot nature. Um, the presence of a rich prosody, like stress, intonation, rhythm, loudness, and more like that, which is absent from the written language. So, I want to mention that models of listening. Uh, there are communication theory model. Uh, that the purpose of this model, or more accurately, the mathematical theory of communication based on Shannon and Weaver 1989, if I'm not wrong, was to increase the effectiveness of telecommunication networks. So, the next model is a model for information processing. The second kind of comprehension models, known as information processing, was greatly impacted by computer and artificial intelligence research. So, the third model is a model of social and contextual. So this model is a third kind of listening model that views understanding as something much more than just relatively restricted processing power. And wait, I try to remember. According to Okta 2000, as a cognitive process that unites the social and the individual, unlike communication theory and information 224 Lynch and and mm, wait uh, Mendelssohn's processing. Next, the social and or contextual model views human as both players and makers of meaning. Uh, as what Nia says before, and it is in the interactional space between us rather than only inside our uh, own heads that meanings are achieved. So, I want to talk about a type of listening. The first one-way listening is traditionally associated with the transactional function of language, which is crucial in academic settings like lectures and schoolism. In academic settings like lectures and schoolisms, it involves cognitive content, cognitive content, the contextualization, the context, the contextualization, formal language, and need to take notes. In other situations, such as watching films or television, one-way listening is more informal and spontaneous. Research studies and Publication often emphasize one way, non-reciprocal listening. So the next two, uh, I will try to describe in short. Two-way listening, also known as listening and speaking, involves dialogue or discussion with different readers playing into play. And the listener's involvement in a speaking role brings both costs and benefits, such as the need to respond appropriately and the opportunity to resolve the problems. So the last material I will tell to you guys about I try to remember processes of listening. As we listen, we engage in bottom up and top down. That is called top down processing, and but bottom up processing, but is involves piecing together the parts of what is being heard in a linear fashion, one by one in sequence. So like top down processing is like the outside of looking at the puzzle piece by piece. Uh, imagine you hear a marvel sound. Bottom up processing might just tell you it's a jumble of noises, and top down processing kicks in and says, "Wait, I know that sound. It could be someone talking from another room." The top down working, and your brain uses what it already knows, past experience of voices and talking to interpret the jumble sound and give it meaning. So uh, the point is the top-down processing start from the top, your brain knowledge and expectation. It use this knowledge to interpret the sensory information you're getting from your eyes, ears, etc. Uh, the down part. So instead of focusing individual sounds or details, it looks at the whole pictures and tries to make sense of it. Uh, so the top-down processing help us understand things quickly, even if the details are unclear. So uh, the bottom-up details to meaning and top-down meaning to details. Two work together to help us perceive the world around us. So that's all for me. Maybe can the next speaker to uh describe
Okay.
about your
Excuse me. I will
Yes.
I will move to another place to charge my battery.
Okay, but you are still in Zoom, okay? So
Okay.
let's go on because we have the 8 minutes left. So for the first, I'm the last speaker of our discussion tonight. Our topic today is the listening. So listening is one of the language skills that we should be able to do in our lives. Apply the listening is an active process when we hear something from the speaker, and when we do the correctness, or we get the meaning what the speaker said in our brain. And also it should encourage our comprehension and knowledge about what the speaker said, in order to we can do the correctness. Also there are some uniqueness of the listening. But the first is like the listening is only one shot. It means like we only listen when the speaker said when we are listening. There are some elements of listening that we call it on the stress and the intonation of
I'm
what.
sorry,
Yes.
I wanna go laboratory.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Isa. And then uh so the elements that we will use and we will listen while we are in listening. So the next is the characteristic of the pronunciation or the speech sound when we are listening, because when we hear the word charges, it's not like the same with the written text. So the next is the process of the response, and also the process of the response is immediately or directly, because when we listen something and we will do the response immediately. And also there are some is many issues in meaning of listening. For the first is the communication model. The communication theory model, if I'm not mistaken, it is like for example in like computer technologies, it is the one of the example. And next is information processing model, where information processing model divided into three steps is the input, process, and output. Where is there are the processes is like we look for the source, and also we process in our brain, and then we interpret it in our brain, and we should know the background. And next is a social and conceptual model. It means like we not the we not interpret the meaning what we listen in our brain, but we should do the interaction with others in order to we know the different perspective, and we can conclude what the meaning of the speaker said, or the meaning of what we hear or what we listen. And next is the situated action model. It is like most people in the world tends to listen and also understand the meaning. Then they memorize it to keep it, or to achieve it for the next life. And there are two types of listening. For the first is one way. One way is like you have explained it before. It's like transaction where only the speaker speak, and we as audiences only listen to the material, or and also we do not. It is like a few of interactions. It is happens in a workshop, in the lectures, class, and etc. And two-way is there are interaction between the speaker and also the listener or the audiences. It happens in our daily life when we talk with our friends, when we get a chit chat with our family, and etc. And the next is there are some participants, and the addressing the audiences, and also I forgot that one. And then the process of the listening, there are the bottom up and the top down, where the bottom up is the linear interpretation of the meaning that we listen, and the top down is we interpret it in our own language. So yeah, there are the enable skill. the enable skill, it means like we hear the text and they are the speaker and we hear the text that speaker said. And the activating skill, it is like the we hear we hear the text and we will do the tech notes in order to keep the information what we listen. So listening is very important to apply linguistic, because there are some features of linguistic such as phonology. We learn the speech sounds, and it can increase our listening skill, because we know how the speech sounds, and also semantics is also important in listening, because we should interpret the meaning what the speaker say. Okay, I think that's all from me. Okay, I think that's all, and because I'm the last speaker, so our discussion for this topic is done. Have done. Okay, thank you so much, guys. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you for discussion
Thank
tonight.
you.